let's go to Zoom and we can look, in a bit more detail as their roller coaster ride because I think it was quite
Sure.
amazing. Um, just in terms of price action, what they did, they announced earnings I think on the 22nd or 23rd November, a week back. It dropped pretty much 15-16% right after earnings. Oh,
Wow.
they didn't miss earnings; they just dropped. Um, oh, the Omicron announcement came, it rose 10%. Monday was a risk on day in the US markets. It fell by another 10%. So we're back kind of where we started. But with a lot of volatility around. But let's leave that aside for a bit and look at the business. Yeah. Because I think that's where
Hmm.
we want to focus on, and if we are going to be more patient and do slightly longer term investing, right? And hopefully beat the market that
Absolutely.
way.
Well, hopefully value
Right.
investing.
So
So.
my speaking to my heart, even though it's a tech company. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, right. I mean, I was gonna say it's price to sales now. It's 15. It was 30 to 60 pre-pandemic. You look at that business
Wow.
pre-pandemic, look at the business now. There's no reason for the multiple to be so low, right? But
Yep.
first earnings, right? Earnings, they grew revenue from third quarter last year, which was already a bumper year, by
Hmm.
35%. So context,
Hmm.
in from Q3 2019 to 2020, they grew by 360%.
Wow.
And from Q3 2020 to Q3 2021, they grew by another 30%. Right. So yeah, it wasn't 100 times. It wasn't 100%. It wasn't
Yeah.
200%. It was a mere 30, but that was
But
already a
still,
huge base, right? They have literally
absolutely.
five times their revenue in 2 years.
Yeah.
But obviously the market didn't like this. It dropped, right? Um, there is still some customer growth. It's a lot slower. So they the customer growth grew 18% year on year. Um,
Mm.
Interestingly, right, a lot of the churn were in the smaller accounts. So customers with contributing less than 100K in revenue shrunk, but customers contributing more than
Right.
100K in revenue actually increased by about 94%. So
Wow. Okay.
so
So
their number of customers.
they're actually targeting the bigger and trying to retain the bigger clients, obviously.
Yes, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people are missing, right? Zoom is an enterprise company. They were an enterprise company
Mm.
pre-pandemic. They just happen to have this brilliant retail product that everybody needed to use, and that's why the perception is that they are a retail facing company, but
Yep.
their genesis has always been enterprise communications, right? The founder was from Qualcomm, lots of them around now, but he knows his hardware, he knows his tech. Yeah, other than that, what else is
Right.
there? I like free cash flow companies. I like profitable companies. Zoom is one of them. They had in one quarter free cash flow of 370 million plus. They
Wow.
have 5.4 billion in cash. So well capitalized, not much debt. You know, able to expand, especially given their size, right? But
Wow, nice.
of
And
course,
did
markets.
their SCF, if the FCF grow from quarter three last year or from last quarter or
Yeah,
anything like that?
it grew but like 20%. Right. Wasn't fantastic.
Wow, that's
Again,
good.
compared to 300%. Yeah, they held margins, operating margins great. Whatever reason, just because it was 300% last year, 20,
Mm.
30% this year, the market just thinks that's terrible. I mean, I don't know, right? That's illogical to me.
It could be that sort of like fad that they think, oh, everybody's using Zoom, I better buy Zoom, but now we're using less Zoom, so we shouldn't really. But really the corporates are the ones actually buying it and increasing in their portfolio
Yeah.
where the money actually is, right?
Exactly, right? So, I personally slightly oversold, right? I bought more, I think
Mm.
just after earnings, right? It's
Nice.
a loss, right? I've not bought a lot, and it's a loss, but it's averaging down. I think it's now a decent time, right, to look at it in more detail, right? And again, we go back to the thesis. What is it? It's enterprise communications. What do they have? They have their audio product. They have events, Zoom events. They have Zoom phone. They are trying to replace your telephony system in offices. So your Cisco, headsets, all
Yep.
that, they want to replace that, right? Of course, The
Very
the
cool.
big elephant in the room is Teams, right? Because Teams can do all of that as well. Right.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's the big headwind. But just looking at the growth, just looking at how they manage to retain and expand on and make existing customers spend more, I think that this could be a punt worth taking.
Got it. And I think for our listeners out there, how does this compare to Teams? Because with Teams, it's also very much in the enterprise space.
Yeah.
I think we know this. It's by Microsoft. If you're on Azure, if you're in their ecosystem, you're probably going to get Teams over Zoom. How would that? How is Zoom taking that, right? Because as far as I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zoom was, yes, it was always an enterprise play, but it benefited from COVID because it could hit
Mhm.
these SMEs, it could hit these individuals. So just like what the market is trying to say, which is that less individuals might be using it, how would then go back to that first question, which is how is it different from Teams and why should we go for Zoom?
Okay, one, I think product functionality. Okay, my wife will kill me, but I don't think there's much difference in Microsoft Teams and Zoom. I also own a lot of Microsoft, so that's by the
Right.
by, right? Either horse wins, I win. But I think the reality is that there are a lot of companies using both ecosystems. So Microsoft pushes Teams very hard. They give it away free, literally, to everybody.
Mm,
That was part of their plan to defeat Slack, right? Who obviously got acquired by Salesforce. So
yep.
it's I think there can be differentiators for Zoom. So for instance, a few months back they tried to acquire an automated call center call center company called Five9, right? So you could get Zoom phone and they will give that service about automated responses, which if you rent a call center would be extremely useful to you, right? And your customer service would be great. Unfortunately, the acquisition failed, but
Mm,
that to me is the thinking behind it, right? They have a communication system. They're expanding it into making hybrid events work. They're expanding it maybe into the metaverse and having avatars. They're expanding it
mm,
into enterprises and different enterprise use cases, right? And so
interesting.
I think that there's the opportunity there, right? They're building the stack out slightly differently from Microsoft, where it's just about communications primarily. It's not so much about events and hosting good events. It's not so much about providing voice solutions, right? So I think that there's a difference there, and that the Zoom team executes well, right? Their net earnings retention per their net dollar expansion rate is like 130%. So and that's for the past 2 years, 3 years, sorry. So
Interesting.
essentially, if you're a customer that spends $1 with them, on average next year you'll spend $1.30,
Let's
and
see.
after that you'll spend $1.69. So
That's
revenue is
great.
per customer is expanding very quickly and retaining very well. So I think we just need one catalyst, right? They get a good acquisition in that differentiates them, quite cleanly and neatly from Microsoft Teams, and that increases the attractiveness to a certain subset of companies.
Cool. No, I think that's a fair play. Again, listeners, coconuts out there, the good takeaway here is the multiple, what is it, price to sales at 15 is what you
Yeah,
said, Anthony?
15. Yep,
Yeah, when it was 30. Right. And actually
pre-pandemic,
most
right? Without all the growth.
pre-pandemic. Exactly. And now it's 15. Is it too much of a sort of underrated stock? Is this a good time to go in? Given that, and my take is that given that they do have FCF, they do have quite a lot of cash, that's enough for them to either acquire or even start something new and try something else.
Yeah,
I feel that Zoom, because this is what they focus on, unlike Teams. Teams is part of the ecosystem, so they're not really going to change Teams much. They're going to change the other parts of the ecosystem, right? But Zoom is able to then pivot, expand into these different segments where I feel could be good growth. The only question here is, what are those segments, and
yeah.
will it be good, right? So
Let's
I
send
think
that to Reggie and Tom for a stock geek out if they haven't done one already.
that's true. That's a good one. Definitely, coconuts. If you do want to know a bit more about Zoom, please let us know. We're happy to do a stock geek out. We can just put our boy Reggie on it. So yeah, that's always good right here in this podcast.